operators. We looked into arithmetic operators, bitwise operators, and assignment operators, and now we have initiated our discussion in comparison operators. So always remember that comparison operators, right? They always return a Boolean value, either true or it can return false. All right, that is what it is going to return, true or false. All right, so now we will see some of the comparison operators. One thing we saw was A is equal to B, that we saw. We also saw the strict equal to comparison, where we said we'll compare the value as well as the data type, that is triple equal to B. This is called as strict equality. All right, this is called as what? This is called as strict equality comparison operators. All right, so just to give you one instance of it, like we said, let's say 12 is equal to 12, which is returns the value of true, whereas 12 triple equal to 12 will give the value of false, because this is a strict equality comparison operator where it will compare the value and also the data type. Here the value is 12 but the data type is string, whereas the value here is 12 but the data type is number. All right, so that is the reason you are getting two different values using two different comparison operator. One is equal to comparison operator and second is strict equal to comparison operator. And then there is also an comparison operator called as not equal to. Like for example, 12 is not equal to 10, which returns the value 2, true. And if it is 12 not equal to 12, which will be false, this will return a value false. That is the reason you're getting a false here. A exclamation followed by equal to, this is called as not equal to comparison operator. And then there is another thing we have is 12 less than 15. So this is a less than comparison operator, which will return true. And if we had like 12 greater than 10, which is true. Okay, this is again a greater than operator. This is a less than comparison operator. And the combination of this is also is valid, like 23 is less than or equal to 25, which will return true. Whereas this is called as a less than and equal to a comparison operator. We can also say, like for example, 34 greater than or equal to, you can say what, greater than or equal to 12, which will be true. Okay, so 34 is greater than or equal to, this is how you read it, less than or equal to, whereas this one greater than or equal to. All right, these all what you see here are the comparison operators. Always remember, comparison operator will return a Boolean value, either true or false. And remember, because JavaScript is case sensitive, this will all be in small letters. TRUEFALSE, all are in small letters. But the same thing if you compare with the Python programming language, right? It will return T as in capital, okay, and false will be F will be in capital. Okay, that is in Python, but in JavaScript they will all be in small letters. All right, and there can also be a concatenation, or you can also use what we call it as a stringing up together the multiple comparisons, like 12 is greater than 10 but it is 10 is less than 10 is greater than 9. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is 12 is less than 10. Okay, 12 is less than 10, which will be false. 10 is greater than 9, which will be true, but the combination of this will return false. Okay, whereas 1 is less than 2 but it is less than 3, this will return true. Again, what I'm trying to do here is I am stringing together multiple comparison. One comparison here is 12 is less than 10, another comparison is 10 is greater than 9. in this case as well, 1 is less than 2, and another comparison is 2 is less than 3. All right, if both are true, then again, if both are true, then it will be true. If one of thing is false, again it will return a false. That is how you also make it more complicated when you can use a using a comparison operator. Okay, and with that being said, like if I want to give you a simple example, okay, what we have seen is, let's go back to our index.html. It is just containing a boilerplate with a script tag. Okay, script tag is pointing to the source of main.javascript, which is this file, main.javascript. I'll just clear this entire thing. Now just I'm trying to here compare, create a simple program, JavaScript program, where I am trying to compare two variables using a comparison operator, just to demonstrate. Like for example, let's say I'll declare two variables. Let's say stock value, again, remember this is a camel case. When I have multiple words, I can use that camel casing. And let stock value 1 is equal to 123.78. Okay, this is one value. Again, I can go ahead and say, let's say stock value 2 is equal to 98.189. Okay, these are the two stock values. It might be from any stock exchange. These are the two stock values we have picked up. Okay, now just to give you one tip here, guys, instead, if you have two variables being declared with the same keyword like let, you need not have two times specify let. What you can do is just, instead of semicolon ending it, just put comma, and then you can go ahead and remove this let. Okay, this is again a simple way of again declaring two variables using the let. There will be a stock value 1, there is a value assigned to it, there is a stock value 2 variable which is holding the value of 98.89. all right, these two are declared. Now I want to use a simple comparison, which one is having a greater value. So I'll see whether they are equal or not. Then I can say, I can go ahead and declare another variable. Let's say is equal, again a variable. I'm saying stock value is equal to stock value 2. All right. Now what this is doing, this is using two variables, the values of two variables, and comparing with a simple equal to operator. Okay, it is not comparing the data type, mind you, it is just comparing the value. Now it is comparing whether it will be true or false depending on whatever the value is returned, that value is stored in equal to. Like in this case, what happens here, stock value 1 is 123.78, which is this value, is equal to 98.89, which means this condition or the comparison operator usage will return a value. What it will return, guys? Either true or false?
False.
Yeah, it will return false. That's correct. So this false value will be stored in this variable. Now I can just go ahead and put in the console.log. I'll try to see what value it gets printed. I'll just add it here and see. I'll save it, and then I'll go to the main program and I'll right click and open in the live server. The live server will be opened. I just need to go to the what console log and see this is returning the value of false, which is as expected. All right, so this is how you can go ahead and utilize these comparison operators in different ways in your programming logic. All right, so what we have done is a simple comparison of two stock values and then return. But ideally, what I recommend is, ideally you use a triple equal to or a strict equality operator. Whenever you are comparing, there won't be any change in value. Is equal to value will still be false. Okay, it won't change anything, it will still be false. All right, that's a good way to compare. Okay, don't I personally recommend using triple equal to operator rather than using double equal to comparison operator. All right, now moving on to the next set of operators, what we have seen, what are those guys? Next set of operator is a logical operator. So what is this logical operator? Logical operators are used with the Boolean operators, which means these logical operators always utilize the Boolean operator, like true or false. Like, just to give you a simple example, like true, okay, and which is ampersand ampersand true. What it will return, if both are true, then it will return the value true. This is what you are seeing, this value double ampersand sign, this is a logical and operator. Okay, this is called a logical and operator. Now you can also say, let's say false and true, this will return false, because it again boils down to the truth table where you are using a and operator. If A and B are both true, only then the and operator will return the value true. If one of them is false, like false true will return false, and again true false will return false, false and false will also return false. So just observe here, for all the three it is returning false, except for the one where both the values are true, it is returning true. This kind of operation is called as logical operators, and logical and operator in this particular example. So always remember, logical and operators are typically used with Boolean values whenever they are, and return the Boolean value finally. So just to give, I'm just taking true and false values. Let me take some condition there and give you an example related to the logical and. Let's say what I can do here, let me try to clear the screen, Control L. Now for example, let me put the parenthesis, 12 is greater than 11. Okay, 12 is greater than 11, which will return the value true, and 4 is equal to 4. Okay, now what is happening here? Understand this, guys. 12 is greater than 11. This is a comparison operator, greater than comparison operator. Then this will return the value true. So then this one, if you compare 2 equal to 4 is equal to 4, which will also return the value true. So in this case, what is happening is true ampersand ampersand true, which is and logical and operator, and then true. This statement is this state condition statement is similar to this what we have written. This will return the value true, this comparison operator, and this comparison operator is also returning the true, and two comparison operator values are combined with the logical and operator to give the final result, which is still true. Okay, like the way we have ampersand for logical and, there is also a value for logical or as well. Like for example, a pipe character, you can use B. Okay, this is called as logical or operator. Like for example, you can say true pipe symbol, two pipe symbols true, which means this or this, which will be true. And also understand that true pipe we can say false logical or, and false or logical or true will also return true. This will only return false when both the values are false. Just observe this for logical or. Logical or will only return false when both the values which are comparing are false. If both are false, only then you will get false. But for rest of the conditions, if one of the values are true on either side of the logical or, then the value will be true. Return value will be true. And like the way we have logical and logical or, there is one more logical operator which we call it as logical not operator. So what is this logical not operator? Logical not operator will always start with exclamation sign followed by a variable name. Like, for example, you can say, let's say exclamation true, which means not true will return false, not false will return true. Okay, it will just change the boolean operator. Okay, so not true will return false, not false will return true. Here, this is one of the very important use case you will find in JavaScript using the not operator. Like, for example, I'll give you one example here. Let me clear the screen. Let's say uh, what happened is, there is let me go to the program. Let me try to create one simple program for you. Okay, here what I'll do is, I'll clear this. Let UID or user ID is equal to 1234. Okay, this is the user ID. And then I'll create another value called const is account created. Okay, this I'll set it to initially as false. So what is happening here, guys? I have created two values. One is UID, which is user ID, is 1234, and constant value I have created some kind of a flag which is saying is account created. Initially it is set to false, account is not created, something like that. Now I'm trying to use a simple um, uh, variable which might be called as validate account. Okay, validate account is equal to, now I am doing what? Not UID. So what I'm trying to say here, not UID means if UID is not true. Now again, coming back to one important concept here, I just want to bring to you before we jump here. That concept is related to the truth values and false values. Okay, what it means is, if I go here, like for example, for in JavaScript, right, every value that you see in JavaScript has got certain inbuilt truthiness and falsiness associated with it. So what it means is, like for example, any empty value, like for example, if you say let number is equal to, let number, okay, I'm not defining any value, and if I say uh, not number, so what it will true, it will define certain value which is saying true. Now if I say let number is equal to 0, okay, now it is also storing some certain value. Okay, it is also storing certain value, but now if I go ahead and say let number is equal to false, all right, let number is equal to false, now not number will return true. All right, not number will return true because that is what the logical operator says. But I'll bring you one important concept here which is known as truthiness and falsiness values. So what it means is, all JavaScript values have an inherent truthiness and falsiness associated with them. What it means is, the falsy values listed below, rest all will be truthy, which means when the value is false, it will be false. When the value is null, it will still return the value as false. When the value is empty, okay, it will still return the value as false. If the value is 0, it will return the value false. If the value is undefined, it will return the value of that variable as false. And if it is not a number, again we'll come to that, what is not a number, what is this, in later time. But now just understand the in back of your mind that every value in JavaScript has got its inherent truthiness and falsiness. Like for example, here what we saw, if we assign the value as false, then obviously this will return the value as false. And at the same time, if you assign the value as num is equal to 0, and when I compare this num against whether it is true or false, then it will also return the value as false. All right, in the same way, what I'm trying to show it to you is, if we have a UID present here, okay, UID is already assigned a value of 1, 2, 3, 4. So not UID, which will obviously be false. So hence this will return the value of console.log will return the value. If I say Control Z, if I save it, this I'll go and run and check the output. This will return the value of false. Now imagine the same example if there is a new user who has not created any value associated with it. Like for example, if we have created an empty string, okay, there is nothing existing, and now if we go ahead and validate that, okay, now there are different ways that we can do it, but one of the way we can go ahead and validate is this will return the value true. Why? Because as we have seen, the UID is currently holding the value of empty string, okay, it is not holding any value. So whenever I go ahead and say, because empty string is what, guys? Empty string is always holds the value false. So when I am saying not false, which means it is returning the value of true, hence this is storing the value of true, hence it is printing the value here as true. So why are in most of the conditions later, whenever you want to check whether the user ID is created or not, or whether you have an account existing or not, you can use this kind of logical not operator. Logical not, you are testing whether it will return true or false. Depending on that, you can write your if conditions. All right, so are you able to understand this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. And now moving on to next good example, what we can talk about is, once we have done arithmetic operators, bitwise operators, we have also seen assignment operators, comparison, logical. Now what we are going to see is something called as conditional operators. Again, as the name suggests, it boils down to the conditions. I'll close multiple tabs here just to open one single tab. Now we are going to see what is known as uh, conditional operator. Now inside the conditional operator, what is this conditional operator? Conditional operator in JavaScript is the operator that takes three operands. Okay, now there is, again, we also call this conditional operator as a ternary operator or question mark operator. We'll see the syntax, how it looks. Okay, the syntax for this would look like, why is this needed? When you are comparing the two values, okay, based on the condition, again you will understand this much better when we understand the if else conditions much clearly, because this conditional operator is kind of a replacement for a if else conditions. We'll see how does that work. Now here, just understand the simple syntax. You have two conditions. Like for example, you have a variable name. I'm just giving the syntax, guys. Okay, you're giving initially a variable name will be equal to, then you will give the condition. Okay, then you are evaluating the condition. Once it is evaluated, you will have this question mark. That is the reason conditional operator is also known as question mark operator. Okay, you have a condition, then you will have a question mark, and then you will have two values. Okay, value 1 colon value 2. Okay, this is how the syntax will be. What it means, you have a variable to which the value is assigned, either value 1 or value 2 depending on the condition. Okay, now one good example for this I can go ahead and give you. A very standard example is about voter IDs. Okay, voting age. Let's take this. So let's say I want to use the conditional operator, which is question mark operator, or also known as, we also called it as ternary operator as well. Ternary operator, we can say, we can also say this as question mark operator, or you can also say this as conditional operator. All these three means the same. Okay, now we'll take this example. Let's say I'm declaring a simple variable called age. Let age will be equal to, let's say, 33. Okay, this is the age. And then I'm going to say let um, eligible age for voting. Okay, in India it is 18 years. Okay, 18 years is your eligible age. And again, I'm going to say whether the person has a voting rights or not. Let's say voting rights. Okay, this is what the variable I'm going to see. Now initially I'm going to not assign any value to it. I'll just keep it declared let voting rights. All right, now let me use the conditional operator with the syntax that I have shown you here. Variable name, you check the condition. Depending on the condition, you assign a value 1 to the variable or value to the variable. Let's see that. Voting rights is equal to, because this is the value, I'm storing that. And here I'm going to check the condition. Age is greater than the eligible age. Okay, if this condition is true, if this condition is true, then it will say I'm going to print this message, because I am going to give this value here. Okay, this value, what you see here, this value I'm giving it as a string. So eligible. Okay, just printing eligible. And then if it is false, then it will say not eligible. Okay, one is if age is greater than the eligible age. Here in this case I have given it as 33. 33 is greater than the eligible age, which is 18. And this is the condition. This condition, if it is true, this value will be picked and assigned to the voting rights. If this condition becomes false, then this value will be assigned to the voting rights. Now here the output I am just putting into the console.log. I'll just put voting rights. I'm going to print it. Now what will happen here? Let's run through our example. Age is 33. 33 is greater than eligible age is 18. So this value will become true. The moment the condition is true, the very first value will be assigned to the voting rights. In this case, eligible will be printed. Now if I go ahead and run this and see, eligible will be printed. Now let me go ahead and tweak the values just to see. Let's say I'm going to give this as a 15, which is 15 is greater than 18. No, it is false. The moment this condition becomes false, then the value 2 will be picked up. This is a value 1 colon value 2. So value 2, which is not eligible, will be assigned to the voting rights. Hence console.log will now print the value called not eligible. Okay, are you understanding this conditional operator?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So this is very simple, guys. Just it is simply saying, like, if you know other programming language, right? It is like saying if condition. I'll just give here to give you one simple example here. If you are comparing these two conditions, let's say if this and this, what I'm going to say, console.log, I'm going to print this value, which is eligible. Okay, else I'm going to print what? Console.log not eligible. It is this simple if else statement can be written in this conditional operators. Okay, this is same what this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of code is doing. This single line of code does the same thing, nothing else. This and this 2 lines of code. All right, makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now, with that being said, what we can go ahead and do now is let's try to understand the next topic of our discussion, which is nothing but, let's say, let me close this. This and this I'll remove, just let it be. Okay, I'll go here and clear the screen for you. Here, what we are going to discuss now is what we call it as data types. So data types again. Now what I have done here is a multi-line comment, guys, nothing else. So here in the data types, right? So always understand, we are going to talk about JavaScript data types. So what are these data types? Why do we need data types here? Because what is what is that we are trying to do in a programming language? In a programming language, ultimately what we are trying to do is work with the data. Okay, ultimate intention is you have certain data, we are working on that data. Like for example, take a simple calculator. Calculator is the simplest form of a computer. What does it does? It takes the inputs from the user in terms of numbers. Okay, that is data, and that data will be fed as an input to the calculator, and depending on the kind of operations or operators that you use in the calculator, it will compute that and return the output on the same screen. In the same way, any programming that you do in the current world, it will take your data, processes the data, and throws you the output. Okay, so now what becomes important for a developer is to handle the data. So how do we handle the data? So in order to handling the data makes very simpler when we assign a certain data type to it. Like for example, if I enter a b c d e f so and so forth, this can be said as a string. Okay, this can be said as a string. All right, now there might be a data like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so this can be said as a number, right? Or you can say 123.45, this can be said as a decimal. Okay, this can be said as a decimal. Okay, now what you have done just now is you have created a data types. Depending on the type of the data, you are assigning a certain common name to that data. So abc, if it is there, you say that as a string. 1, 2, 3, 4 is there without any decimal point, you say it as a number. If there is a decimal point, if you say that is a decimal number, or sometimes you call it as a floating point number. Okay, so you also say floating, floating point number. Okay. In the same way, what we are going to see now is the data types that are allowed to be used in JavaScript programming language. So now in JavaScript, there are almost let's say seven primitive data types. So what are these 7 primitive data types, and why are they called as primitive? Okay, there is a reason why they are called primitive. Any data type which is called as a primitive are said to be immutable. Now whenever we say Mutable. What does this mean? Mutable means that can be one that can be changed. Immutable means one which cannot be changed in a simple English. Okay. Now, what does it mean when you say that data type is primitive? It means that whose content cannot be modified or changed without creating a new value. Like, for example, let's say here, what I'll do, let number is equal to 123. So what we have done, we have created a variable which is storing a value of an integer. Now, if I see a type of operator, which is a JavaScript built-in method, which will return the type of the data type that the variable is storing. In this case, the number is a variable which is storing a data type of number. Okay. Now here, what you need to understand, the takeaway here is these numbers cannot be modified. Like in the case of array, you can do that. Okay. If what is the array? Array is a list, right? It contains more than one values. It might have 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4, where each value can be changed. You can just go ahead, take the index of that array, and you can modify the value of single value or the element of an array. But in the primitive data types, like in this case a number data type, you cannot modify this value. What you can do is you can just reassign a value, which means you can go ahead and say number is equal to 234. You are reassigning here. Okay. Initially you have given a value of 123, and now you are reassigning or changing. You are reassigning the value here, not modifying the existing value. Okay. There is a difference here. That modifying a value is when you are able to alter the value itself without changing the variable. Okay. So always remember that JavaScript contains 7 primitive data types. All right. Now, what are those 7 primitive data types? Let's take them one by one. All right. One of the 7 primitive data types what we see in JavaScript is called a number. So what does this number will do? This number is a representation for integers as well as decimals. Okay. So there is nothing in C programming language. There is a int and there is a float, right? Here we don't have that float kind of a concept in a JavaScript. The JavaScript has got only a single data type called number, which is capable of storing both integers and decimal values. All right. Now, again, there is also another data type which is called strings, and this will store the value of alphabets, or you can just string values. Okay. It will store the string values or the alphabets, small or capital letters. You can go ahead and store in the string, and even also you can go ahead and store the numbers inside it. You can also store the special characters inside a string. Okay. That is what the string data type is. The next, another data type out of the 7 primitive data types is Boolean. So what is this Boolean? Boolean data type is for storing the data of either true or it can be false. This kind of a data type is called a Boolean data type in JavaScript. Then there is another data type in JavaScript which is called as undefined. DEFINED, undefined. And what is this for? This will be a data type where you do not assign any value to that variable. That is when you have a undefined data type, which is value not assigned. We'll see that what it means. And then there is another data type in JavaScript which is called as null. Null is like empty. Okay, it is nothing but empty data type, which means it is not holding any value or nothing. So it holds nothing or no value. This is called null data type. All right. or sometimes it can be value can be unknown, and there is a difference here. What undefined and null both have a difference. We'll see that how they are different from each other, null and undefined. And there is also a value called big int. Big int is for what? It is for storing larger integer numbers. Larger integer numbers can be stored using big int. And finally, there is one more primitive data type called as symbol. And symbol is kind of a uniquely hidden identifier. You usually say that as unique hidden identifier. Again, this is very closely related to how we operate that in objects data type. When we take about another data structure called objects, when we learn about objects, we'll revisit that symbol at that point in time. But now we'll concentrate on these six initially, and then we'll take the symbol later. Okay. So what are those? Number, which is for representing integers and decimals; string, which is for representing the string values; and boolean, which can be either take a two values, either true or false. Okay. And then undefined, which means a value is not assigned to that variable. And finally, there is null, which is called a empty or empty value, okay, which holds nothing, is called a empty data type. And finally, there is a big int, which is storing the large numbers. All right. So these are the seven primitive data types that you're going to see in JavaScript. Let's go ahead and try to understand the very first data type called numbers, which is number. So what is this? Sorry, number. So what is this number? Number is one of the seven primitive data type, and they are going to store the values, either integers as well as decimals. Then how do you define and declare a variable using what we call it as integers and decimals? Let's see that. Let's say I'm going to clear the screen. Let's say let let number 1 is equal to 1 2 3. All right, now this I have given one value to it, which is number 1 is defined declared with a initialized value of 1 2 3, which is an integer value. And also we can use constant as well. Constant can be used like number, let's say pi is equal to 3.142. This is also a number. All right. And then we can go ahead and utilize another type of, let's say, I can say let num2 is equal to 0. All right. I have given three or declared three values. Now let's see type of, what is that, num1. What will be the type of num1? Num1 will be of a integer data type, because this is storing the value of 1 2 3. And then there is a pi, which is storing a value of decimal number, which is floating point number. It is still of the data type number. And then there is another number, which is num2, which is storing the value 0. 0 is also a number data type. All right. So what you can see is you have used let const, or you can also use var as well. That is also fine to declare a number data type and assign those to a variables. All right. Now let's give some let's say num1 plus pi, what it will return, which means I'm using an arithmetic operator called addition arithmetic operator. Num1 plus pi will return the value 123.142. So I can use the arithmetic operators on numbers. It is allowed. We can do that. And at the same time, let's say what I can do. Yeah, num1 divided by num2. Here there is a magic happens here. What it says, guys, num1 by num2, it is returning a value called infinity. Okay, and remember that if I go ahead and give you type of num1 by num2, so what is the catch here? Infinity is also a number. A data type is number, because num1 by num2, you are dividing num1 by 0, which will return the value of infinity. The type of infinity is also number. So always remember that infinity or minus infinity, both, like if I go ahead and say minus number, okay, minus number, what this will do, let's say I'll copy this, and just a second, what it will do, this I have used minus infinity, and then the minus infinity is also a number. Plus infinity and minus infinity are both data types, are numbers. What I'm trying to show you here is what all falls under numbers: integers, decimal numbers, infinity, minus infinity, all these forms, zero, all these forms a part of number data type. All right, good. So another thing that I can go ahead and give you is the precision. Okay, now what happens here, let's say control L, I'll clear it off. Let num1, I'm going to give a num1 value of, let's say, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15. Okay, so I'm giving the value of 15. Now what will be the num1 value? It is absolutely fine, it will take that value up to 15 places. Okay, it is not having any problem whatsoever if it takes the value up to the 15 places. Now let's say I am going to give another value called num2, and I am going to add one more 9 and enter, and now num2 has been rounded to the next highest number, which is, instead of 16, this has gone to rounded off, rounding has happened here. So what is that I'm trying to say here? The numbers has a precision up to 15 digits. After 15 digits, what happens? It will round off to the nearest highest number. Okay, like if it is 999 16 times, it will round off to 1 followed by 16 zeros. All right, so totally the maximum number of decimals is 17. That is what it will take. Like for example, let's say 1 divided by 3. What happens here? 1 divided by 3 is, it will give you the decimal places. How many decimal places? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 plus the dot. Okay, so what I'm trying to show you here is the number of decimal places in numbers is 17. That is what it is going to take. All right, and again, when it goes more than this, again there is another format that we can call it as big int. We'll see how that big int is, but for now understand this important concept. And also the numbers can also be represented in exponential notation. What does that mean? Like for example, you might have seen some values like 1 2 3 e 12. So this is a valid number representation. What is this E called as? E is said to be an exponential notation, which is nothing but it will be read as 1 2 3 into 10 to the power 12. That is what it means. Okay, so even you can use the exponential notation to represent the numbers. All right, like for example 1 2 3, let's say e to the power 2. What it means is 1 2 3 into 10 to the power 2. This is what it means. How do you read this? 1 2 3 into 10 to the power 2. This will return 12,300. This also will return 12,300. Now, before I jump into numbers and what are the methods that it encompasses, again, we'll come to that tomorrow. Again, tomorrow we'll have a session, because what I wanted to talk about is NaN. NaN is called as not a number in JavaScript. This is a very special representation in JavaScript. Not all programming language has it. What it means is NaN stands for not a number. Okay, this is a reserved word. This is a reserved word in JavaScript, not a number. Okay, indicating that the number is not a legal number. Okay, it is a number, mind you. Like for example, type of NaN. If you see, the type of NaN will return the data type as number, which means NaN is still a number, but it is not a legal representation of a number. What is it? How is it different from numbers? But it is still a number data type. We'll come to that tomorrow.